Let's go into our news of the week. But before we do that, we want to let everyone know that it is going to be our call-in show. We do this periodically where we open up the phones and allow you to ask questions about anything related to Omaha growth and development, projects that you've noticed, things that you've always wondered about. And when we have our call-in show, we bring in a couple of experts. And with us today, we have Brad Williams from Brad Williams Photography and E&A Consulting. Good morning, Brad.
Hey, good morning, guys. Thanks for having me back.
Brad does all of our Grow-Omaha construction videos, a lot of our Grow-Omaha website stuff, photography for the show, and so many different things for Grow-Omaha, and we appreciate that. And then, as we often do during these call-in shows, we're joined today by Jorge Sotolongo from NAI NP Dodge. Good morning, Jorge.
Good morning, guys. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you back. Jorge is, in addition to being a commercial real estate broker, is also a member of the Omaha Planning Board, and you guys had a meeting this week, so I imagine we'll probably talk about some of those things.
Yeah, we sure did, and a lot of exciting stuff.
All right, so we are fully armed, Jeff, Trenton, Brad, and Jorge. The number to call is 402-558-1110, 402-558-1110. You can call at any time, but we're going to do our news first, which is brought to you by Eagle Mortgage. They are in the mortgage brokerage business, which means they can get you set up with a variety of different banks. They are not beholden to one bank. They're mortgage brokers. And so basically they meet with the future home owner, the home buyer, and get to know that home buyer, find out what their situation is, what's unique about it, and then match them with the best lender in the best loan situation. Conventional, FHA, VA, they even do some other types of loans. But if you want to get a hold of them, you can stop by the office at 114th and Davenport or go to eaglemortgagecompany.com. That's eaglemortgagecompany.com. All right, guys, on the news docket today, first of all, we have some signs of construction progress. The first one, Holland Performing Arts Center. Right next door is the Tenaska Center for Arts Engagement, under construction, over $100 million project. The steel has gone vertical. And whenever we see steel go vertical, fellows, that's when we know things are getting interesting.
We need a sound effect for that.
Okay, well, have you work on that?
Okay.
And next Saturday, Trenton will unveil the steel going vertical sound effect. Also, steel going vertical quite a bit further west than the Tenaska Center for Arts Engagement, and that's the Bankers Trust building at 192nd and West Dodge Road. Well, let's talk about a couple of specific projects. Within the last week and a half, we'll call it 10 days, a rather nondescript brown beige 3-story government building that kind of looked like it was out of Soviet Moscow, Cold War era, 48,000 square feet, came down at 7101 Mercy Road. And in its place will be a 4-story, 200-unit apartment building, along with a 5-level parking garage. Construction is scheduled to begin in March, with completion planned in September of 2025. And guys, this is significant because we're putting a lot of residential units on a place where it had been some underutilized office, but it's more development in that greater Exarban area, if you will.
It's interesting they're doing a 5-story parking garage. Those are expensive to build. I'm sure it'll be a great facility. I don't know if it'll be like a modern version of Swanson Towers at 84th and Dodge or something like that, because it's a neat location, good views, and I believe that was one of the 3 buildings. I don't even know if any exist anymore. One was where the Think was, this one, and there's one other that a developer by the name of John Madden, who was from Omaha, but then he moved to Denver early in his career. But he built 3 buildings there. Travelers owned them at one time. The one got torn down for Think. Is the third one still up? I'm trying to remember.
I don't know. He was a hell of a sportscaster.
Yeah, but they were built probably in the 70s.
So, Brad, these types of apartment projects just keep coming and coming and coming. It's so common. There are those 4- and 5-story projects that are so popular right now, but they're a great example of infill.
Yeah, it's really almost, I think, every week on the newsletter or on our social media, we talk about a new apartment. Last week we talked about the one downtown on 12th and Nicholas. And there's just it's helping fill a demand for the housing that we need here in town.
Well, we have a severe housing shortage. There's no doubt about that because our population keeps growing. And we've talked many times over the last 20 years about how important it is for us to build up the city of Omaha because we're running out of land in Douglas County for the city to eventually develop and annex. And so really gratifying to see so many of these projects increase density in the area, and many, many more appear to be on the way.
And there's a national trend about vacant office buildings becoming multifamily, and it's an expensive proposition, especially the wider the building, sometimes the harder it is to convert. And so this made more sense to tear down, it's an older building, and to make a ground up apartment complex. They've looked at it with other buildings, and it's hard to do.
Well, Jorge, this week at the planning board, a lot of things came before you guys downtown, but there was something that jumped out at me, and that is plans for a big box retailer at about 182nd and West Maple Road. It's on the north side, immediately east of the very large St. Patrick's Catholic Church, which is under construction. And while this project was not identified in the official planning documents, there's some renderings floating around that say it's going to be a Sam's Club. But tell us a little bit about what's happening at 182nd and West Maple.
Yeah, so we had the developers in to discuss the project, and it seems to be moving forward. There's some coordination with neighbors and things that's taking place right now. But, one thing that they mentioned that was pretty reassuring was that this tenant, whoever officially it is, we suspect it's Sam's, they want to move quick, and that's not been the case, I guess, in the last 12 months. But
they want to build this year?
They want to build in 2025.
Okay.
So, which I guess is quick for a
they got to
project
do all
like
the dirt
this.
work and everything.
Dirt work, of course. So
utilities.
A big motivation for this site was the Costco that's coming at 180th and Maple, and so I think that makes it pretty certain that you're going to see a Sam's Club or that type of store there. Speaking of multifamily, there is a multifamily component to this to the north on the same site plan that we saw. I don't know who's going to be developing that, but that's going to be market rate apartments right there as well. So it's going to be kind of a mixed use feel, which is, I think, pretty interesting if you consider what Sam's Club looks like on L Street, for example. This is going to be kind of cool to have a mix, I think.
Yeah, most of West Maple is in developers' hands now and has been for a long time.
Yes. Yeah, there's a lot of good plans there and a lot of good people in charge of.
Everybody wants to know when the Fleet Farm is going to come in. And that's what is that at about 83rd or?
That's about that's closer to 181st, 182nd.
Exactly.
So it'd be south or just a little southeast of this future Sam's Club. But we've been talking about that Fleet Farm project there, and so far it doesn't appear that anything has budged there. I drove by that stretch 2 days ago, and it's still just grass and weeds.
They've
on that
owned it
lot.
for a long time. They also have a site at 192nd and Highway 370 west of that world's largest Hy-Vee.
I'm wondering if the Gretna location of Fleet Farm doesn't open before the Northwest Omaha location, which was announced earlier.
Can you imagine if all this happens? I mean, we're talking, 400,000 square feet of retail potentially on that corridor?
Yeah, it's pretty impressive, especially when you think that we went through this phase of retail development in America where big boxes were out. I mean, you didn't see very many super Walmarts or super Targets developed anymore. A lot of the big box category killer retailers that were so popular in the 90s have kind of gone away. But here you've got a stretch of West Maple where Costco, Fleet Farm, and Sam's Club are both, or rather all three, under construction or about to start construction right now. Now that Sam's Club site, or what we suspect is Sam's Club on the north side of West Maple, that's raw. That ground's pretty raw. I drove by that just a day or two ago, and there's still a farm there, so there's going to be a lot of work to get that going. Whereas if you look at the Costco site, southeast corner of 180th and Maple, the walls have been going up. They've been under construction for a while there.
It needs a lot of dirt work. It needed a lot of dirt work, but they got to jump on it.
Absolutely. Well, we have another story I want to run by everyone today, and that is some controversy about a casino going into Bellevue. As we know, Warhorse Casino is under development at Horseman's Park, a little bit east of 72nd and Q, dude. And that's coming along. And it's only been, within the last year or two that casino gambling has been legal in Nebraska. The first Nebraska-based casino opened southwest of Lincoln last year. Well, Bellevue wants to get into the act. And the problem is the system is set up that you can only have a casino where there's a horse racing track. And we have those existing ones in Omaha at Horseman's Park, even though they run a race 2 days a year or something.
Right. A lot of expense.
Kind of a joke. And then the South Sioux City, Columbus, Nebraska, Grand Island has the one that's part of the state fairgrounds.
Warhorse has Lincoln.
Yeah, which I think they created that horse racing track, I believe. I don't remember that. I don't think, was that there before?
I thought it was.
The racetrack has been there for a number of years. Once they closed the one at the old fairgrounds by the Devaney Center.
Oh, they moved it out there.
But for the first several years, it was a quarter horse track where it's more like a straight track, just a drag race basically down the front. Now they actually have a full circle track there.
Which the whole idea of quarter horse racing makes me laugh, because you always think of horse racing as like the thoroughbreds. I was telling Trenton yesterday, I wanted to start a barn mule racing track. It would be really cheap.
Armadillos,
and you could race it year round and not just have a couple days like the one in Omaha. Anyway, Bellevue wants to get in the act, but fellas, there's a problem. There's no horse racing or barn mule track in Bellevue yet, and so they would have to create this. And the state law, this new state law, says you can't open a casino in a place that would be detrimental to an existing casino. And apparently Warhorse, while not even open yet, is an existing casino. So we got a little bit of a battle here. The mayor of Bellevue is not so happy. He wants to have this casino in Bellevue so people can bring their oxygen tanks to that one. And apparently it's going to be combined with...
Jeff's a huge proponent of gambling, by the way.
All I know is if I ever want to feel depressed, if I ever be life is too good right now, I'm too happy, I want to get depressed, all I have to do is drive over to Council Bluffs and walk around one of those casinos, and it pretty much does it
Jeff
for me.
is channeling his inner held up.
I mean, it's just you ever notice you go to those places, no one looks happy.
This is a live look at the pro and anti-gambling lobby in Nebraska here.
And I may have done more field research than Jeff over at the Horseshoe. And
when I see you in a casino, you don't look
Las
so
Vegas.
happy. Yeah. It's you see all these people miserable looks on their face, and they choose to be there. At any rate, if you're not happy, take your oxygen tank and go home. But at any rate...
Did you have breakfast this morning, Jeff?
I did. Le Peep. It was I ate breakfast with Brad. It was
a little
delicious.
too much cough syrup, though.
So apparently in Bellevue, we want to have this with a water park. And the idea is to have it at the Highway 34, Highway 75 interchange in Bellevue. So I don't know, guys. What do you think? Is Bellevue going to pull this off?
Remember last time Bellevue wanted to have a water park behind a hotel, and it didn't work out too well? They built it and then they tore it down.
I do remember that.
Structure behind a hotel.
Yeah, I don't remember the details, but I do remember
I'm
that.
kind of confused by what the water park brings to the situation. Water park and horse racing. Is this where we're going with this?
And casino.
And I mean, I'm just a little confused. But
You can play with the horses in the water.
Yeah, horse water therapy.
okay, if Offutt ends up doing a new runway, just take the old one and do horse drag racing.
But,
That would be fascinating.
but with quarter horses and
quarter
not
horses.
thoroughbreds.
No, let's bring back chariots.
And speaking
like
of quarter horses, the
Better
reason we
action.
keep saying this is that Bellevue says, well, it's fine to have our casino here because it'll be quarter horses instead of thoroughbreds. So I don't know what difference that makes. But
I've ridden plenty of quarter horses, and I don't see them racing. But
actually, you and I
It's not the same as a miniature horse, just FYI.
when Trenton and I were in high school and college, you guys had access to a property with quarter horses that you owned, and you were kind enough to let me go horseback riding, and you and I would race those things.
Yeah.
And but I'm not thinking we got quite as fast as the thoroughbreds.
or a full quarter mile.
Yeah, we didn't go very far.
And just for the record, we're fans and proponents of Bellevue.
We love Bellevue.
And Rusty Hike and Jim Risto, and we want to see great things for Bellevue. And a lot of this is in jest.
Well, I would actually say that Bellevue is such a lovely town, it doesn't need a casino.
Yeah, I mean, I think you also look at it, there were a lot of proponents wanting to take Exarban and turn it into a giant casino, and thank God they didn't do that.
Thank God that didn't happen.
Led by Notto companies, look at what's happened over there, and that's wonderful. And then they're talking about putting it off, 34 and kind of I-29 there?
No, 34 and Highway 75.
Highway 75, okay.
Yeah, 29 would be in Iowa. So, and Iowa's got plenty.
Yeah.
Of them existing. So we'll keep our eye on that. A little bit of controversy there, but it looks like we could get yet another casino in the metro area if the Bellevue interests are successful in pulling off that project. Well, that's our news of the week, which is brought to you by Eagle Mortgage, eaglemortgagecompany.com.
If you like this video, be sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons. And remember, Grow Omaha is not just media. This is a mission. We are trying to build up Omaha and make it an even better place. We can only do that with your help. Share this video with your friends, neighbors, and family.